Y'all have probably heard about this guy, Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president of the United States. He won the Civil War and landed his mug on the $5 bill, all while being a total bearded daddy. Mercy. Lincoln was famous for having a way with words.
70 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
But he also had a way with hot, young men. Yes, darling, your history book has censored Lincoln's love life for far too long. Truth is, Lincoln had at least 4 intimate and maybe even sexual relationships with men. We like to call them Lincoln's 4 scores. But let's start at the beginning. Before he was an accomplished lawyer, statesman, etc., Abe was a poor 21-year-old from Kentucky, and he was brawny as hell.
I would think of Lincoln as a young Matthew McConaughey.
All right.
I'm Thomas Belsurski. I'm a professor of history at Eastern Connecticut State University. My pronouns are he, him, his. Lincoln certainly had the build of a bodybuilder or a wrestler because of the manual labor he did in his youth. He was ripped.
One area man recalled,
Physically, Mr. Lincoln was the strongest man I ever knew. That is saying a good deal. Let me tell you what I saw him do. He took a full barrel of whiskey containing 44 gallons, gripping each end with one hand, raised it deliberately to his face, and drank from the bunghole. In doing so, he won a $10 hat from Bill Green.
Who was Bill Green? Well, 22-year-old Lincoln, while teaching himself law, had taken a day job at the Denton Offutt General Store. Bill Green was Lincoln's assistant at the store, and the two had grown close, very close.
His thighs were as perfect as a human being could be. I mean, what can I say? I'm a thigh man.
Bill takes the first rose as score number 1.
Lincoln's most intimate relationships are with men, not women. He wants to be around men, close up, touching, and personal.
Bill became Lincoln's extremely close male, roommate. They both worked and slept at the store, apparently so close together that when one turned over, the other had to do likewise.
In that moment of bed sharing, anything could happen. That's why I sleep in a king bed today, because I don't want to touch my partner. Lincoln enjoyed it. It's an arc of a lifetime, and it's a sexual arc.
Sexual arc? Amen, sister. That sounds queer as
Howdy, I'm Eric Cervini, the Book of Queer's resident homo historian. Welcome to the footnotes. You may have noticed that we haven't labeled Abe gay because that wouldn't make too much sense. Why? Because sexuality, just like race and gender, is what we call a social construct, or a concept that we as a society just came up with. And during Lincoln's time, the idea of a homosexual hadn't yet been conceived or constructed in the English language. For hundreds of years, people didn't agree on a word for men who loved men. And given all of these changes in language throughout history, that's why we love the word queer. All it means, in the words of queer theorist David Halperin, is whatever's at odds with the normal, the legitimate, the dominant. And hey, we may even come up with newer social constructs to describe ourselves in the future. After all, they're really just figments of our collective imagination.
Well, I suppose I'll put my gaydar away for this chapter. Anyway, with Bill Green as a late-night study buddy, Lincoln became a lawyer.
Farewell, Bill Green.
And left for Springfield in 1837 at age 28.
Don't forget me.
I won't forget. His first order of business? Finding a place to work, a place to live, and maybe a new main squeeze. Enter score number 2, Joshua Fry Speed.
What can I say? I have a type.
It's a kind of a scene out of a Hollywood movie when Abraham Lincoln walks into Joshua Speed's general store. Lincoln rolls in, this country boy, straw still in his shoes, but at his full erect height of 6'4", quite a dashing young lad, and he comes into eye contact with Joshua Speed, who is a more diminutive, almost feminine, soft-featured man who has an entire general store to offer to Lincoln. But Lincoln really only wanted one thing, and it was speed.
What would the furniture for a single bedstead cost?
17 and all.
It is probably cheap enough, but cheap as it is, I have not money to pay. But if you will credit me until Christmas and my experiment here as a lawyer is a success, I'll pay you then. If I fail on that, then I'll probably never be able to pay you at all.
I can suggest a plan by which you'll be able to attain your end without incurring any debt. I have a very large room with a very, very large double bed in it, which you're perfectly welcome to share with me if you choose.
For 4 years, Lincoln and Speed shared a bed. Every single night, they came into physical contact with each other. The only thing that explains it is Lincoln enjoyed it. And Speed must have enjoyed it as well. It was mutual. It was a mutually satisfying sexual relationship.
Things were working out for Lincoln. The scruffy giant from Kentucky soon started making a name for himself. Speed would later gush about his relationship with Abe, saying,
No two men were ever more intimate.
But Lincoln couldn't stay in Joshua Speed's bed forever. In 1839, after 2 years of sleeping with Speed, Lincoln turned the dirty 30. He was still unmarried and quickly approaching F-boy territory.
Abraham Lincoln, you cannot eat in the bed. You're not 29 anymore. Act your age!
Abe must have felt immense pressure to marry and finally got engaged to a woman. The spunky Mary Todd from Kentucky, who met Lincoln while she was staying with her sister in Springfield.
I'm young and spunky.
Lincoln's ultimate calculation is this. If he's going to advance politically, he must have a wife. And I think he's quite nervous about what that would entail sexually. He had never been with a woman until that time. He'd only known men. And this is of great concern and great anxiety to Abraham Lincoln.